and I can turn my part, go around the corner. Okay. The other thing you have on here, this is a needle up. So if I'm sewing and it stops down, it's going to bring my, we call it needle up, it's actually what they call take up. Puts this arm at the highest point. And that's where machines should stop on, say, a serger or any kind of machine where you want your needles up. That's where it's supposed to stop. Not with your needle up, but with your take up arm up. And you'll also notice when you hit this button, a dot will line up here. Okay. And this button, notice you have short little dashes here and you have long dashes here. You have 2 dials. Okay. This machine is equipped with 2 stitch lengths. So while I'm sewing at 6 right now, if I hit that button, it's going to sew small. Of course I ran out of thread, but you can see how much closer the holes are together.
Right.
Then
what does it do? Toggle from one dial to the other?
Yep.
Okay.
There's an air cylinder in there that forces it to go to the other one.
Okay, and
you
then
always want your bottom number bigger.
Okay.
You start cranking this one lower, something happens inside there. I haven't figured it out yet because these are really new. They have them on some older machines and I never really figured out why that is. I never took the time to care. I'm like, alright, I just know it has to be bigger. And this button here, so it switches back and forth from one to the other.
When it's lit, is the default the bottom or unlit?
When it's lit, it's the left side.
Can I answer your question? Please try. See, when you're using a walking foot machine, you are definitely sewing something that is heavy, or at least that has ply. So when there are plies or some of the material is thick, the stitches have to be bigger so that it's not putting too much pressure on the motor. Now, if that one is not a bigger stitch length, instead it's a smaller, it's a lot of pressure on the sewing machine.
There's a solenoid in there that rocks a part that takes, basically there's a peg that goes in from both of these. So you have 2 pegs sitting in there. And it has a rocker part, there's a shaft that goes in here, and there's a little cylinder. It'll either pop it up to this pin or pop it to the other pin.
But that one is temporary. You know, or it was manufactured well. So it has been already thought out that that one will be a temporary or a small length.
Well, you can run it all day long.
On that
you know
one?
what I mean? On either one.
Oh, okay.
It's just you have the option. Sometimes what we're finding in, like, say, the auto industry, they may sew a seat and around the sides of the cushion and stuff, they may have a government spec of 6 stitches per inch.
Okay.
But when they get to the airbag that's in your, the side curtain airbags that are in your seats, they may have a different spec for the airbag part in it. So they can now push a button and go right to it.
Got it.
Instead of having to figure it out.
But it cannot be 3 stitches per inch or maybe 7 stitches per inch. 8 stitches per inch?
No, maybe not 8. 8's a little small.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of them like that where the leather parts are sewn together at 1 stitch length and just the portion of where the airbag is sewn in could be different.
Okay.
This is an auxiliary tension. I tend to use it only because most machines you're dealing with on like this are sewing with a nylon thread or a polyester thread, not cotton. So I like a little more tension. When you push this button, it engages and disengages just this one though. This one's all remains a tension all times. So you thread them through them both. We'll thread it in a minute, but when you push that, you no longer have this as a tension. So if you're doing something lightweight where it's only 2 ply, say you're sewing that material on this machine, we wouldn't want this on because it's going to pull the knots right through the material.
Okay.
And then you don't have a good aesthetic look.
Okay.
This button Don't worry about it. Doesn't do a dang thing. It's a general switch bank that they put on all their machines now.
Okay.
And not one machine that we've sold has any function for that.
Okay.
So I've always...
Placeholder for the future.
We've done some stuff where I've allocated that button to something.
Oh, okay.
But from the factory, none of the machines we sell have used it yet.
Okay.
Bobbin winder's the same thing. You're going to go in, around the cups, out the hole, down to your bobbin, engaged. So when this sews, that rotates. And you'll notice it'll kick it out, and it will still rotate until the flat part gets up here. And then it disengages itself. Okay? And instead of having the knife up on top, like we did on that one, we have it built in right here.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this black screw adjusts this up and down for how full you want your bobbin. Because you definitely want this to kick off before the bobbin's full.
Right.
Otherwise you get a whole wind of mess.
Yeah, we're having a problem with these typical.
And on this machine, this is your foot pressure. You don't have to undo a nut, it just turns. So I'm going to grab a spool of thread and we'll thread. You want to go behind that little plate. Okay, and that's exactly how you thread that one. If you wanted to pull your thread through, like let's say it got caught up and you ended up with a short tail or something. Again, with lifting the foot, both these cups open, so you can just pull the thread. Or you have the option to push this lever and both these cups will open. You can also pull the thread. If you try and do it now, you're going to bend your needle. See the needle flexing? Now one thing, the higher it walks, the louder a walking foot is.
Okay.
That's why I said you only want that foot to just slightly come up off the material. You can see daylight between the material and the bottom of the foot. You're good. If you're walking high enough, you're going to get a true stitch on it. And that's pretty much it for this one.
Okay.
Don't ask me where it is. It's not the same. It's not a switch. It's actually some kind of sensor that can tell when it's been rocked.
Okay.
But again, you will have to turn it off. Okay, now this oil pan, you're going to get oil that drips out of here. Don't be alarmed. That's what it's supposed to do. You have all these lines where the oil is being pumped through. The excess oil from your hook comes out of this hole and drips back down into this pan. It drains down into here, where this oil hose here will pick it back up and suck it back into the system. This is where you would drain your oil if it's dirty. You won't need to drain, especially as little as you guys are going to run them. You're going to go at least 6 months before you change oil. Okay? If you over tighten this cap, it's plastic on plastic, so if you over tighten it,
It's gonna break.
it'll leak. It's just built in a little bit different, but it has the same button on the bed. All these, well, not that one, but these two machines will both have a safety clutch and both have a button to push in to re-engage it. So like if you jam this machine up, you jam that machine up, the hook's going to move, it's going to turn. You're going to have a mechanic re-time the machine. This one and this one and that Juki over there, you clear out the thread that caused the jam, put it back together, hold that button down, and rock the hand wheel backwards until you hear it click, and it will have some force to it. It puts your hook right back in time. So there is no need for a mechanic. You can jam it up, get it undone, and